Lev Sergeyevich, is it true that you have discovered the secret of immortality?
Yes, I have carried out two projects. One of them was on rejuvenating people, and the other one was on bringing the dead people back to life, to the condition they were in before their death.
Lev Theremin, the legend, an eminent scientist, the author of numerous inventions, among them the first electronic musical instrument, named Theremin box in his honor, a gifted and accomplished musician, an agent of the Soviet secret police, and a prisoner of the Gulag, the one who discovered the secret of immortality. The obsessive idea of finding the secret of immortality got hold of him in his early youth, when he was a student at the St. Petersburg University. The formula was found and tested in the late 1920s. We shall never know, however, whether Theremin had learned the results of the tests, nor what those results actually had been, just as we shall never know the secret behind the birth of his sister, who had volunteered to have the newly invented chemical tested on her. Her name was Anna.
Вот, кстати, журнал «Музыкальная академия» за 95-й год. Сестру, как мы уже упоминали, звали Анна. Об обстоятельствах ее
In one of his last interviews, Theremin mentions in passing some details related to her birth. My parents were well-educated people. My father was a lawyer. My mother had never worked. She stayed home, was a good pianist, and was good at drawing. My father came from St. Petersburg. My mother came from somewhere down south. The father's family was large and of French origin. They had settled in Russia in 1780. I had no brothers. My sister was born much later, when I was about 5. In fact, Anna came into the Theremin's family when she was almost 2. She had been adopted by Lev's parents. The two kids were exceptionally loving and emotionally close to each other. The secret of the adoption was closely guarded by the parents, so that Lev and Anna had found out about it only as grown-ups. It was precisely the circumstances of Anna's birth that had instilled in the young genius the belief in the possibility of staying immortal and in the probability of finding the way to achieve immortality. Anna shared that belief and supported Lev in his research. When the chemical had been obtained, without the least hesitation, she agreed to have it tested on her. By that time, she knew the incredible story of her coming into this world, and she was also aware that an experiment of this sort could be staged using only her as a subject and no one else. Of course, many people had doubts concerning the alleged blood relation between Lev and Anna Theremin. Nature had been generous to the siblings, bestowing most varied talents on both of them. Both shared a passion for music. Before graduating from the university, Lev had received a diploma from the conservatory as a cellist. Somewhat later than her brother, Anna received her diplomas as a composer and an operatic vocalist. According to her contemporaries, she had a most remarkable and unforgettable voice. But as a result of an unfortunate accident on a trampoline, she ended up with a permanent limp, which had barred her from the career sphere of an opera diva.
Удачного прыжка с трамплина.
Because of that, Anna Theremin dedicated herself totally to writing music. Her musical output in the 20s was an absolute breakthrough, while her expressive means were well ahead of her contemporary art by at least 3/4 of a century. She implemented her amazingly novel ideas with such brilliance and elegance that she was doomed to be misunderstood and treated with disdain by her contemporaries. To take root in public awareness, her ideas needed to be adapted and simplified. A Moses needed an Aaron, in other words. For the Soviet academic music, Anna had become what Gertrude Stein had become to the modern world literature, a generator of ideas that she herself implemented in an exceedingly perfect manner, requiring simplification by someone else. Simplification of Gertrude Stein's ideas had brought a world fame to Ernest Hemingway, who admired Stein and was totally influenced by her work. For Anna, the young Dmitri Shostakovich served as such a Hemingway. As time went by, he too had acquired a world renown. Saying that Shostakovich was madly in love with Anna would be an understatement, but his love was unrequited. She was everything to him, and the parting that followed had left a tragic imprint on the rest of his life. Practically speaking, none of her contemporaries truly knew her. Maybe Meyerhold did. Oh, no. Meyerhold... No. Don't you remember how the story with Aelita ended? Yes. You're right. Indeed, she was admired but not understood. That explains the failure of her attempts to do joint projects with Meyerhold, Mayakovsky, Eisenstein, Pudovkin. Only once did she find true understanding. In 1925, Anna becomes friends with Kazimir Malevich, whose work she knows well and likes. It was difficult to impress the wise father of the Russian avant-garde with anything. But to his surprise, through contacts with Anna, Malevich discovers the meaning of his own creative process. Anna Theremin becomes the painter's muse and remains in that capacity for the rest of Malevich's life. Together, they come up with a project for Aelita, an operatic mystery play based on a novel by Alexei Tolstoy, which has just been published. What brings Anna and Malevich together is not exactly a mad passion. Rather, it was a feeling that stemmed from their mutual understanding of their each other's uniqueness, as well as appreciation for that understanding. In 1927, unhindered, Anna travels with Malevich to Europe to attend the opening of his exhibition in Dusseldorf. In those days, this could mean only one thing, that just as her brother Lev, and incidentally not just he alone, Anna was an agent of the Soviet secret police. Malevich returns to the Soviet Union alone, while Anna follows her brother to America. For a while, her absence does not worry anybody in Moscow. But 2 years later, when she still fails to return, Malevich ends up in prison, where he will be held for a year. Lev Theremin, upon his return from the distant land of America, also gets arrested. His imprisonment will last 5 years and will come to an end in the Gulag concentration camp. Traces of Theremin's sister crop up again in Europe. She becomes a vocalist of Polish jazz, performs in Warsaw restaurants, and marries Adolf Wenzel, the legendary clarinetist. Anna Wenslova. It's hard not to recognize her voice. It is unmistakably unique. In 1940, she and her husband get into a car accident. Wenzel dies in the arms of his wife Anna, who miraculously survives. After Adolf's tragic death, all traces of Anna vanish. In the archives of St. Cornelius Monastery, located near the Polish city of Świnoujście, there are fragments of a handwritten score of a requiem, dated 1962 and bearing the signature of Adolf Wenzel.